Thanks for taking the time to check out this devlog update for projecttau. In this video, I'll be giving you updates on the game and its current progress, as well as future next steps for the game. I'll see you after the intro. In case you're new to the channel, projecttau is a 2.5D fantasy isekai action-adventure game I'm working on. In the final game, you can expect a story-driven narrative, spicy abilities, interesting areas to explore, and a lot more. With that out the way, let's jump into the summer update. Starting off with some movement mechanics. I wanted to refine the feel of the movement, so I added tons of small features such as a coyote timer, which allows a player to jump for a small time even after walking off a ledge, a jump buffer, so jumping feels a bit more responsive, as well as a max fall speed so that players can have a bit of control even when they've been falling for a while. As a result, movement is feeling a lot better. Still some tweaks I'd like to make here and there, but we're moving in the right direction. Next up, let's talk about the combat mechanics. One of the things I worked on for combat is giving the player special abilities they can select from with an action bar. Don't worry too much about the action bar, it likely won't make it into the final game and it's mostly just there for displaying the mechanics. Regardless, the player now has the ability to activate different ability types. Specifically, these types fall into the following categories: melee abilities, emit abilities, buff abilities, and beam abilities. As one might suspect, each ability type works in its own ways, and I mostly named them like this for code readability purposes. How they'll be represented in the game is up to changing. Beyond adding in these abilities, I also added in some other polishes to combat, such as with camera shakes, squash and stretch, smoothing out some movements, VFX, and a few other things. Lastly, before moving on to story updates, I just want to acknowledge that the last time I checked in, I said I would work on weapon variety. I did work on this, and I got it working with two weapons to prove out the concept: the hammer and the bow. Truth be told, I'm not sure if we'll have weapon variety in the final game, but the mechanic has been proven out and I plan to use it in the future titles, if not this one. And that wraps up the combat mechanics. Now let's jump into some story. While I explain story updates, I'll be sharing this time lapse of a little creature I drew up that could possibly end up in the game, as well as some other snapshots. In this universe, there are certain people who can control Naya, the magical energy source of this realm. Through one's control of Naya, they can do just about anything their imagination wills, so long as they have the knowledge and overall ability to execute what they have in mind. Some of the things that people can do with Naya are hurl balls of fire, invoke illusions, abjuration related abilities such as healing and shields, clinging to objects to help them climb, transformations, and so much more. To control one's Naya takes training, and while the possibilities of Naya are endless, it is often the case one learns techniques through another by means of mentorship, text, and other sources of knowledge. Similarly, while there are infinite possible uses for Naya, this does not mean people can't use it infinitely. Naya is the energy found in all things, and it is possible for a person to completely deplete all of their Naya. As you could probably expect, when that happens, they die. In our story, our main character Xalen has the power to control electricity, an ability that falls in the class of destruction magics, for abilities in this category are known to be especially volatile. For now, that's all I'll say, but I would love to hear any thoughts you may have thus far for what I have presented, whether it be on concept art, Xalen, the magic system, mechanics, or whatever else you might have on your mind. With that said, let's wrap up by discussing some next steps for projecttau. The immediate next step is to do a bit more polish on the combat and present it to some playtesters for feedback. Once this is all wrapped up, the next step will be creating enemy AI, and the stretch goal is to make a prototype boss, but that will likely end up being completed in October. Other than that, I would like to inform folks that as part of projecttau, I plan to release a free game that will serve as the prologue of the main title. The game in question will be a short experience, approximately 15 minutes to an hour, and it is meant to serve a few purposes. Mostly, it will serve as a prologue to the main title, engaging the community and start garnering feedback on mechanics and implementing changes for the main title, as well as giving interested parties a taste of what to expect for the final game. There is no solid release date for this prologue game just yet, but the earliest projections is the summer/fall of 2024. I would like to thoroughly stress out that this is the earliest projection, and my main concern is making a great experience, so if I have to push it back, I will. And that wraps up this month's update on projecttau. If you would like more updates on the game in the future, including the official name of the game, Steam page wishlist information, and other pertinent news, hit the subscribe button below. Lastly, if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you could hit the like button and share with some of your other friends and family that might be interested. With that said, thank you for watching until the end, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.